Joe knows taxes.
Joe knows the market.
Joe knows Social Security.
Joe knows income planning.
Joe knows pickleball? No.
This is Joe Knows Retirement.
Today we're going to talk about how to leave your advisor cordially, in a good way. And so we know that most people, when they are working with an advisor, they've probably had a great relationship with them. They probably think very highly of them. They probably really like them, or they probably would not have worked with them from the start, right? And so what we see, though, is that over time, that advisor may not be able to keep up with what the client has done, right? For example, when you're in retirement, maybe you started with an advisor who was more in the accumulation phase, more built on growing your investments, more built on saving and building, growing. Whereas now you're in retirement, and now you need to think of protect. And what got you here may not be what got you there. And so we're going to talk about some ways, if that's you, if you have that advisor where you don't feel confident that they're going to be able to get you to the finish line, or maybe they just have not brought up these topics to you before, we're just going to talk about of ways to make sure that you can have that conversation in the best way possible. Because at the end of the day, you never want to close the door, right? Something we always say is you never want to burn the bridge. They have done a great job for them, and you want to let them know that. It's just time to move on. And that should be fine for both cases. And that party, they should know that, hey, this is best for you. This is what you should be doing. And they should be okay with that. Now, obviously, humans have pride, and that's not always how it's going to feel, because you're going to feel that, hey, maybe that, they lost someone and that they could have done better and all of that, right? But anyways, at the end of the day, you need to choose you in making this decision, and you need to do what's best for you. So if someone else can give a better service, we would always recommend that you do that, right? That is something that we're very, very open about here at Peak Retirement. I mean, when we bring people on as clients, we always tell them, hey, in 6 months, you're going to have a better feel of this is truly the best decision. Obviously you're going to feel good about it out front. You're going to have trust, but you're not going to be able to fully trust someone after only meeting with them a few times to say, hey, here's my life savings. I know you're never going to make a mistake. And so that's why we say it takes about 6 months to get that feel of really saying, yeah, I really feel comfortable. I can see some results. I can see some progress. And so for us, if we ever get to a 6-month period, we've never had it happen, but if we have a client get to a 6-month period and say, yep, you're not doing what you promised us, this isn't going to be a good fit, we will more than happy help them find whatever that best fit is. We'll more than be happy to find that advisor who would do a better job than us. And if that was the case, hey, that's fine. We just want to make sure this person or whoever we work with is in the best place possible moving forward. So that's obviously the hope of your advisor currently. And so we're going to talk through some of those concepts today. We've had many stories that I could share with you of people who have left their advisor. I'll share one, which is obviously very, it's one I think of often is we had a guy come to one of our workshops, and he came up to me afterwards. He said, Joe, I've worked with my advisor for 30 years, and he's never brought up these topics. He's never encouraged me to get an estate plan. He's never talked about Roth conversions or Roth IRAs or tax plan. He's never even looked at my tax return. All my investments are just in stocks and bonds. There's not really any plan set for now that I'm in retirement. And I'm 3 years in now, and nothing's changed. And so he simply said, hey, can your firm help us moving forward? And he said, there's 2 reasons why I want to get your help. One, my advisor's never talked about it like I just talked about. But the second he said is your age. He said, you're going to be around for the entire retirement, right? And you're going to be there to transition the wealth to my kids. And, it's a funny one, but it's actually something to think about is, hey, is your advisor or your advisor team going to be around for your entire retirement? So I think that's something that sets us apart is it allows, our age specifically allows us to make sure we can have that ongoing relationship with the people we serve. And that can be pretty fruitful for many people, not having to worry about finding another advisor in 10 or 15 years. Since the average age of advisors is close to 60, 55 to 60 years old. So are they going to really be around for your retirement if they are going to retire themselves? So those are just some things to think about. We've had other people come. We had another person come to us. They ended up becoming a client. They had a really good relationship with an advisor, and it was actually one of their friends, and they were just charging them really high fees. And we were able to break down, like, you're paying a really high fee, but really only getting 1 out of the 5 pillars that we always talk about. And so basically you're paying full price, but only getting 20% of the service. And so we were able to educate them like, hey, here's a 5-pillar plan that you could get for actually the same or less than what you're paying currently, whether that's with us or someone else. There's a better situation out there for you and your current goals. And so their advisor was just an investment management. That's all he did. He didn't do any planning. And so we see that often, but just want to really educate people on, hey, if that's you, how do you take that step in a cordial way? Because obviously you don't want to, you don't want to cause any harm and make sure things go smoothly. So first thing to understand is if, they haven't done it yet, are they going to? Are they really going to do it? And so typically what we see is, oh, my advisor doesn't do that. I'll just go back to him and he'll do it for me. If you want to do that, it's your money, it's your plan, you can do what you want, but would you really go back to someone? For example, let's say you went to the auto shop and you had a flat tire and they fixed your oil change, but they never fixed a flat tire. And then you went to another mechanic because you just felt like something was wrong with your car, and they fixed a flat tire and they said, hey, I can do your oil change next time too and make sure that everything's running smoothly because I actually found another thing that was wrong too. Who would you go back to for that next oil change? Would you go back to the guy who's changed your oil for the last 10 years who missed a simple flat tire just because he didn't do an analysis of the full situation? Or would you go to the person who you can believe and trust is going to get the actual thing done moving forward? Now, I get it. Relationships are extremely important. But at the end of the day, this is your life savings, and it comes a business decision at that point. Not that you have to be rude with a business decision, but you have to make a decision that's best for you, not for that mechanic, right? Because that mechanic may have hundreds of people they serve, but for you, you've got one retirement. So if they lose you as a client, they're not going to be impacted. But if you lose everything that you have, you may be impacted, right? And so I think of it as the same way as an advisor. They've got hundreds of clients. You're just one of them. They're maybe not as serious about your plan as you are. And so you've got to ultimately decide what is best for you without worrying how are they going to feel about that. So that's my personal opinion, just to make sure you truly get what you had. Because if you work 30, 40 years, what's more important? Is retiring comfortably and having that retirement that you want? Or is to have someone underserve you who's a friend more important? So I'm not saying one's right or wrong. I'm just giving you my opinion, and you've got to ultimately decide for yourself. But that's just typically what we see. And if you are going to go back to your advisor and expect them to change it, they may change it one time, but are they going to really have the processes in place to make sure they keep up with it every year ongoing, right? If they haven't covered it over the last few years, are they going to cover it over the future years? You got to make that decision, but we just typically don't see that that's the case. The other thing to be aware is if you are going to go talk to your advisor again is making sure that you understand that a lot of advisors out there in our industry, sadly are salespeople, and they're really good with words, and they're really good at, I don't want to say manipulating people, but getting people to feel good around them, to make them trust them, to see a situation in a different way that may not be the best situation. And so if that's the case, you just want to really be on guard and be careful about what are they saying, right? If they say, oh yeah, we can do that moving forward, is that a really good thing to believe, right? Or if they try to say, well, what you're coming to me and saying you want, you don't need. Well, is that actually true? Okay, so those are the type of things you really just want to try to weave through. And I know it's going to be hard. If you don't have the financial acumen, you haven't been doing this for years, it's going to be really hard to understand if they're telling you the true or false saying. And I get it, but you really have to understand and just do your homework and find someone you trust to say what is actually the right thing. So that's the biggest advice for that. And then if they try to get you to stay and talk bad about, maybe another advisor that you've seen, then that would be a red flag to me. If they're not doing their job and someone is, and they try to badmouth them, that is just not a good sight. I've had an experience personally actually where we had a client decide to come over with us, and they spoke to their old advisor, and the old advisor actually said bad things about our firm. And the client was actually turned off by that, obviously, because they're like, well, you don't even know these guys. I've met with these guys several times, and I know that they can do a great job for me, and you've never even talked to them. And so if they're really going to be like that, I may have the same approach that that client have. Like, again, if someone came to us and said they wanted to leave, I would say, hey, doors wide open. What can we do to make this the smoothest transition? I'm so glad that you found someone that you can fully trust and make sure you're good to go. Because if someone provides better service than us, I am thrilled for that person to work with them, because I just don't think it's possible with as much time and effort that we spend into our client relationships. But if there's someone out there better, hey, survival of the fittest, the best wins, right? And I'm a big believer in that. If that's the case, great. But if someone's really bad-mouthing it, then that's maybe something to be a little skeptical about. So that's the idea there. The other thing to understand here is who is your advisor? Are they just someone who is a investment manager? So I've already kind of talked about this concept, but I just want to dive a little deeper. Or are they a specialist? Are they a retirement planning specialist? So think about it this way, right? So all these years, you may have just needed a investment manager, someone like a family doctor. But as your plan progresses and as your net worth grows, you now need more of a specialist who understands your unique situation and your situation. So for us, most of our clients are in or near retirement. Most of them have been diligent savers. And so that's going to be a specifically different advisor for them than for someone who does not have as much money saved, who may be 30 or 20 years old, right? Our processes are built to serve these people, not this. That makes us a specialist in this area. We aren't the family doctor. We do not try to work with everyone. We have a boutique firm. We have a specific approach that we take. We have specific criteria for our clients to make sure that they fall in that crowd so we can best serve them. So it's just important to understand that who are you working with? Do they really have that specific of a niche, right? Peak retirement. Our name is specifically for those we serve. People who are in between around 55 to 70 who are on their way down that mountain, right? That's why we came up with the word peak. And so just making sure you have someone who is that specialist, right? We wrote the book on taxes. I hate taxes. Just finding someone who really gets where you are in your space would be another piece of advice for you. And at the end of the day, I understand how important loyalty is. I'm a big fan of loyalty, but just understanding that this is your life savings, as I mentioned earlier, and you've got to choose you at the end of the day. And ultimately, like you could say, like, I really trust my person, and that's great, but what if your person is not getting the job done? So you're trusting someone not to get the job done. You're trusting someone to miss things for you if you really know that they're not doing that. And so we've actually had someone who, it was hard for them. It's really hard to leave your advisor sometimes. I get it. But at the end of the day, that's how you have to think about it. So when you go about actually making that decision to leave your advisor and it comes time to communicate with them, you've got to do what you're going to feel most comfortable with and that you're going to feel is the best step moving forward. Some of our clients feel that is to either send them an email, send them a letter. Some prefer to call. I'd say most prefer not to call just to avoid confrontation. Most of them send them a nice email or a nice letter is what we would typically see. And we actually have a letter made. So if you're looking for that, go ahead and message us. Go to our website. You can find us 614-500-4121 is our number. To give us a text, we'll send you over a nice little letter that we've actually created. It's a nice template. You can add what you need to, just to do it in a cordial way. It's not like, hey, advisor, you've been terrible. Why'd you miss this? It's saying, hey, thank you for allowing us to get to this point. We've decided to take a more hands-on approach to our retirement. We will be changing custodians. We'll be moving our money. Please, some people will say, please do not contact me further. Again, just to avoid confrontation. If anything changes, we'll be sure to reach out in case, we need your help further. So again, up to you how you want to present that, but we've got a letter for that. And if you do go to your advisor, just understand, like I talked about earlier, they will probably be defensive. They will try to talk you into staying, and they will try to pull a lot of things out of their tool belt that maybe you haven't seen before. So just be aware that there may be some shiny objects that may stare you to want to stay. But the question is it really going to be better? So that is my advice to you. I hope this one can be specifically helpful to that person who may have that advisor that they're not sure what to do. Again, we deal with this very often because a lot of our clients come to us from other relationships. We get a lot of referrals from our current clients, and typically, the people we work with, the crowd we work with, most of them have done a really good job, which means they've probably gotten help from someone to get to that point. So we get that most people have advisors in that crowd. And so, for us and how much growth we've seen, that's where most of the clients have came from as other advisors. So again, you just want to make sure you're very polite and respectful and don't burn a bridge is the biggest advice I can give you. So hopefully that's helpful. And again, if you like that letter that we can send out, that you can send out to your advisor, just feel free to reach out and be more than happy to send to you. All right. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we'll see you on the next one.
Since we do not know your specific situation, none of this information can serve as tax, legal, insurance, or financial advice and may be outdated or inaccurate. The information comes from sources believed to be reliable but cannot be guaranteed. This content is prepared for educational purposes only. If If you need advice, please contact a qualified CPA, attorney, insurance agent, financial advisor, or the appropriate professional for the subject you would like help with. Peak Retirement Planning, Inc. is an Ohio-based registered investment advisor and able to offer advisory services in Ohio and in other states where registered or exempt from registration.